Hey everybody, welcome to another episode from HolsingersFlyShop.com. This time I'm tying another nymph pattern for you and another Euro nymph, surprise, surprise. But anyhow, this is one of Kevin Compton's patterns. It's called the Ginger Snap. But I'm going to do a little bit of twist on it. You know, I always tell you in all my videos, use what you have, okay? Or use what's easier. If it makes the same fly, use what's easier. And that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to use what's easier. The Ginger Snap is a fly that calls for a peacock quill, a peacock herald quill, and they can sometimes be difficult to tie with. So what I'm going to use is a synthetic tapered peacock quill from Hemingway, which you see me use in a lot of videos. And I really like the look of them, and they're super easy to tie with. So I'm going to show you just another way to tie Compton's Ginger Snap. So sit back, watch. Here's your material list for the fly, and I hope you enjoy the video. Alright, here you can see in the vise we have Compton's Ginger Snap. And like I said, there's a couple variations to this. I'm going to get into the variations here. One is the hook I'm using. He obviously doesn't use a Trutta hook. So we're going to be tying this on a Trutta hook. Let's get that in the vise for you here. Okay, there you see the size 14 Trutta upside-downie. And for the bead on this, I'm going to be using a 2.8 millimeter tungsten slotted bead in a copper. For the thread, I'm using wood duck. 70 denier wood duck thread will work great on this one. You're going to keep it kind of small. I'm just going to build up a little ball there so my bead rides true and it doesn't twist around. Okay. Now I'm going to try to keep my thread base pretty small. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some cocktail on. And I'm only going to get about 3 or 4 fibers, just a few, not too many. This is a mayfly imitation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put them on there sideways and roll it up onto the top. And I want the finished length to be about the length of the body. And I'm just gonna bring it back right to where it starts to roll around the bend. Then we're gonna put on our tag, which we're gonna be using some Glow Bright. And this is the fluorescent pink colored Glow Bright. And I'm just going to tie a piece of it. Doesn't have to be a long piece. We're just making a couple wraps. Just tying a short little piece of it on here. And I'm going to wrap it right back there to where I just ended the wraps. And then I'm going to wrap about 4 wraps on here. Okay, now once I got those on there, I'm going to tie this off. And then we'll trim off this piece of Glow Bright. That's going to make a nice little hot spot back there. Now here's where we get into our variation. For the variation, I'm going to use synthetic peacock quills instead of a real peacock quill, a stripped peacock. Because a stripped peacock, they can sometimes be a little difficult to work with. The one I'm using here is a tan colored and it's transparent and it's tapered. Like I said, one end you're going to see is pointy and it'll taper up to a really large end. So I'm going to tie it in by the pointy end first. Now I'll get 2 flies out of this one tapered piece here. And I'm just going to tie this back right to that hot spot. And then I'm going to wrap it back up, and what I'm going to do when I wrap it up, I'm going to look at it sideways, get a side view of it, and make sure that it's nice and smooth here, okay? So you have a nice smooth taper, but I don't want it to roll up like a pertagon style, I would say, and I want a nice smooth taper there. Then we're just going to wrap this around, and we're going to wrap side by side. And these are so simple to work with. That's why I love them, and you see them in so many of my videos. Can't say enough about these quills. They just make such a nice body and they do it so effortlessly. Okay, gonna cut that off. The last thing we're gonna put on is the dubbing here. We're going to make a little dubbed collar. Now, Kevin, in his videos, he uses Yon Simon in bronze, and it's great stuff, but it's really hard to get a hold of. Something that's close to compatible with it, very close. Like I said, use what you have. But dubbing Davy Whitlock's dubbing blend, pattern blends in Helgermite color, it's pretty close. It just doesn't have as much of the bronze, but we're going to put some of that in it here. But we're going to make a dubbing loop first. We're going to put our dubbing loop tool in. We're going to put the hook in the thread there, and we're just going to make a loop. And it doesn't need to be a big loop because we're not putting much dubbing on. And I'm going to make one twist around my thread. And then from the loop, we're going to take, and we're just going to use just a really sparse amount here because I do not want a big collar. And there, you can see how I did not use much. But I'm going to take that, and I'm going to put it in my dubbing twister in the thread loop. I'm going to pull it up to the front there, and I'm going to make sure I get it in between, the majority of it in between the two threads. Once I do, I'm just going to twist my dubbing twister, and as I do that, it will start to twist the dubbing in the thread. And once I let go, it'll really shoot it out there. So we're going to make sure we get this good and tight on there. And then I'm going to pick out the really long ones, because this is a smaller one. So I want it buggy, but not too big. So since it's a size 14, it's actually a smaller pattern. I don't want them too long. And that ended up being just perfect. We're just going to wrap off the dubbing loop. And then we're going to whip finish. And that is all that is to tying Compton's Ginger Snap. That's a simple way, not having to fight with those quills if you don't like using quills. I don't use them that much, to be honest. So since the synthetic ones are so easy to use, I kind of steer away from the natural ones and go with the synthetics. I'm new school tire. I don't have a problem using new materials, but that's a very nice looking pattern there. Okay, there you saw. That wasn't a hard fly to tie. Couple pieces of material. Don't forget the hot spot on there, and you can change that hot spot up. Change it up with a different color glow bright, like orange or even chartreuse. Anything. You never know what they're going to trigger on that day, so have a selection of them. This is a good generic nymph pattern that will catch you fish, but mix it up. If you're going to have a dozen of these in your box, have 4 of them in pink, 4 in chartreuse, 4 in orange. The sunlight or different conditions might call for a different pattern that day. So anyhow, tie them in a couple different sizes too. Small as you want to tie them, up into a size 12. I wouldn't tie much bigger than a 12 personally, but size 12 looks really nice too. So anyhow, guys, keep up with us. Here we're going to come out with a new thing. I'm going to give it away to you here. We're coming out with a podcast from Bugs and Beards. Get on our Bugs and Beards page, like our page, and actually ask to join the group there, our Bugs and Beard group on Facebook. And we're going to be posting stuff out there real soon about our podcast. It's going to be a great podcast. We're going to bring in some competition guys, some fly tiers, just a good mix, some steelhead guys, some artists, some women in the sport to get their perspective, women competition fishermen too. So you're going to have a very broad base on our podcast, and it's going to be a great show. We hope you enjoy listening to it. And the great thing about podcasts, the reason I like them, I download my phone full of them. When I go on my fishing trips, I listen to podcasts all the time when I go on fishing trips. And it's just great listening to in the car when you're by yourself. Anyhow, guys, thanks again for watching. Just like always, the material you need to tie these, you can find at holsingersflyshop.com. And if you need to get in touch with me, my email address is holsingersflyshop@gmail.com, right here for you. And reach out to me if you have any questions on any tying things, or if you're interested in a guided trip or anything like that. And if you have any questions about the shop with your orders or anything like that, you can email contact us at holsingersflyshop.com. So until next time, guys, please check those things out and subscribe to our channel. And I'll see you next week. I'm Sean Holsinger.